AI won't replace you, but somebody using it will. This is a quote from Jensen Huang. Many of you have probably heard it. He is the CEO of NVIDIA. And I firmly believe in and agree with that statement. And I recently had a conversation with somebody which was a bit of music to my ears, because she shared with me that she's looked into all these marketing programs that'll help you, get lots of high-paying clients, and then you're going to lose them because none of these programs teach you the skills to offer strategic and advisory services. So this video is designed to be one example of many to come of how to actually do advisory services, right? And so, quick shameless promotion for my holistic accountant program. Every other one of these programs that I'm aware of teaches you how to sell your advisory services and get these high-ticket clients. The problem is you'll end up losing most of them once they realize you don't have the skills to actually provide the services that you've agreed to provide them, right? So here's how you can use AI to become the most strategic person in the room, okay? And we need to start with understanding what is referred to in the book Time's Up, the Subscription Business Model for Professional Services Firms by Ron Baker and Paul Dunn. In one of the chapters, they refer to the classic 5-step model to advisory. And I'll give you the 5 steps. You can get the book for the rest. So step 1 is show them where they're at. Right. Step 2 is ask questions aimed at identifying what their goals, their hopes, dreams, and visions are. Okay. Then once we understand that, step 3 is what shifts do we need to make that possible. Step 4 is where we take all of the above and define the exact, very specific and measurable transformation. And step 5 is, of course, measuring and monitoring performance, making sure that we stay on track for achieving whatever that transformation is that we've defined. Now, when we take that and we think of you as an accountant or bookkeeper providing advisory services to your customers, this is what you'll want to think about: is what kind of transformations can and should I take them through? In 97 and Up, I recently went through and identified the 3 major transformations we're going to take people through. The first one is the cleanup job, right? That's the first thing. The whole reason somebody is likely coming in your door is because their books need to be cleaned up. Nobody would come to you and say, hey, my books are perfect, my bookkeeper's amazing, I just want somebody different, right? So that's almost always going to be the first transformation, is cleaning up somebody's books. But not just thinking of it in terms of, don't ever define that transformation in terms of the quote cleanup, right? What we want to do is define it in terms of what that actually means. What can they do with the information once it is cleaned up? How will that change their whole trajectory? How will it change what's possible for that customer or member if you have them in a subscription model? Right? Now, if we're using AI the right way, we can streamline our processes and process information much faster than before. And interestingly enough, and I have examples to share with you, which I'll include in the write-up, if you poke around at publications like Forbes and Fortune and Entrepreneur and read everything they're publishing about AI and how big companies are investing in it, there's an interesting reality that seems to be consistent across the board, which is that every one of these companies who's investing a fortune in AI seems to agree that AI is not yet actually helping them replace anybody. It's not helping anybody work more efficiently. In some respects, it points to the fact that it's not quite there yet. But they're investing heavily because they know it's just a matter of time, that soon enough, probably very soon, it will get there. And just to give you a real example, when agentic AI became available, I tested this in both ChatGPT and Perplexity, and it was super cool because in both cases, what I did was I gave it access to my Notion account. And in both cases, I was able to give them an instruction and have them go into my Notion account. It's custom designed by me. So it's not like there's any pre-existing information on the web as in, research how this app works. It just by itself went into my Notion account, found the page where I have everything covered, figured out where to go to access my tasks, figured out how to add a new task, and even clarify it a little bit. I was able to get both to do it. If I remember correctly, I want to say Perplexity did it a little faster, a little better than ChatGPT did. But in either case, it would have been 1,000 times faster for me to just go in and create my own task. So while I could see the writing on the wall and how amazing this is going to be when I can actually go in and give it a whole bunch of instructions and say, hey, do me a favor, set up this project in Notion for this particular client and use this template, and that's going to populate that project with the 10 tasks that need to be completed in order to complete that project. And it'll just go do its thing, and within minutes, it'll be set up. In other words, when AI can do it faster than me, but more importantly, with complete accuracy, without sacrificing any accuracy. In other words, when AI can do it more effectively than I can, then it's there. It's not there yet. It will get there very, very soon and very, very quickly. The speed at which this technology is evolving gets faster and faster as time goes on. Okay, so this is why it's important to me to learn how to use AI right now, and at the same time think in terms of how to get strategic with it. So that's what I want to talk about. Is I already promised you that in this video I'm going to teach you how to do advisory services, but specifically I'm going to teach you a process using AI and using a tool that up till now I have not seen anyone talking about, right? I've read articles on it. That's what got me interested in it. And then I started playing with it and testing it, and I can't wait actually to show you what I've got to show you here in this video today. So let me dive right in, okay? And the first thing to do as part of step 2, while we're asking our members questions to learn more about what they want to accomplish and what's possible, is to research the market based on their industry, location, and any other political or economic factors that could impact their business. Okay, the better we can understand their marketplace, the better we can predict the impact to their business, and the better we can forecast their numbers. And what you're going to hear me talking about throughout this video is how that sits at the foundation of everything we do. If you want to provide a customer with advisory services, as far as I'm concerned, the only way to do that properly and completely and thoroughly is to have at the foundation of every strategic conversation a detailed forecast where you can get in there and control the assumptions and easily and quickly see the impact to the predicted cash flow. In other words, I need all 3 sets of financial statements, the balance sheet, profit and loss, and statement of cash flows forecasted. I need to know how I've built all the assumptions that drive revenue and expenses and everything else that gets impacted. And in order to do that effectively, I need the tools so I can research the market for that particular customer and use that to guide my predictions or projections based on that. And I need to revisit it frequently. Remember, step 5 was measure and monitor progress. And that really means monthly analysis, monthly variance analysis, looking at, has the market changed? Has anything been impacted? I'm going to use the example of the housing market in Southern California, which I love as the example, first of all, because it was one of my favorite niches when I was still providing accounting services to people. And still would be if I was going to ever go back to that. But also because it's an industry that represents a lot of variables, which means there's a lot to monitor and keep an eye on. So I think this will really hit home. And if this is not a niche you serve or plan to serve or care to serve, then just please follow with me on this and look at this from a more generic standpoint. You can take what I'm about to show you and use it for any industry. You'll just have to rewrite some of the language in some of the prompts that we're going to go over here. So again, let's say you're an accountant or bookkeeper serving real estate investors in Southern California. Notice how specific I got there. That is what you call a unique audience, right? Not just business owners, but real estate investors in Southern California. I'm specific as to the sect of real estate and also the geographical location. That's very important because especially in this kind of a business, where you're looking geographically can make all the difference. It's very different in Southern California versus probably anywhere else in the United States, okay? So we're going to use Perplexity to do some research. And the reason I choose Perplexity for this, and you could do this with any LLM that you prefer. If you prefer ChatGPT or any of the others, that's fine. But in my experience, and I've played with them all, Perplexity is the best at research, and in particular at getting us sources. And they all reference sources, but you'll see what I mean. With Perplexity, I'm able to get a comprehensive list of URLs pointing to the sources that it used in arriving at its conclusions. And that's going to become very handy in the second step of the process. This is a 2-step process that I want to show you, okay? So we're going to use Perplexity to do the research because Perplexity is the best when it comes to getting these links to these sources. So here are the kind of sub-steps in this process. We're going to copy and paste the prompt into Perplexity. And then we're going to prompt it to give us the analysis, sure, but also the URLs in a CSV style. And then we're going to copy that to Google Sheets. And then we're going to, you'll see when the results come in from that it's all in one column. We're going to split that text so that we have a column that's just the URLs. And that's how we know we're ready for step 2. So let's go over to Perplexity. I'm using the app so you can see it here. And I'm going to reach into my post where I've provided this information to you in the write-up. And I'm going to copy and paste my prompt here. And then I've already done this, right? But I just want to show you how you'll do it, at least the first steps. I mean, I'm sure you all know how to write a prompt or copy and paste something into the prompt. So you'll take what I've given you in the write-up, and if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description for a link. You can join my community and access the complete write-up there. All you have to do is sign up for a free account and submit your email address, and you're in. So you're going to copy and paste this prompt in, and then we're going to look at the results. Okay, so I'm going to go home, because here I've already got it. No sense in reinventing the wheel. So this is the prompt that I have given you the wording for. And here's the answer. So it gave me this, nice answer, and you'll see, I'm not going to waste your time scrolling through and reading all this, but this is essentially what I got. And then I got these sources, and I could click here, but I figure I don't want to spend that kind of time. So the next thing I did was prompt it and say, can you please list the source URLs in CSV format so I can copy and paste them? And sure enough, it did that, right? And it's in comma separated, CSV, it knows as comma separated, of course, in case you didn't know that. That's what CSV is, comma separated value. So it gives it here source name, comma, URL, and it lists them all. So what I did then was I took this and I copied it and I opened up a new Google Sheet. You can open up a browser tab and type sheets.new, and everything was originally in this column. And then I used the data split text to columns, and Google Sheets is pretty smart. It will likely figure out that you've got a comma delimiter in there, and it'll give you the option to let it kind of figure that out, or you can specify and say use a comma, okay? And so really what we're getting at is this is what I need so I can move on to step 2 of this process, and step 2 of this process is what's so cool. Okay, so over here, I'm going to go back home. So here's Notebook LM. Now, if you have a Google account, you have Notebook LM. If you have a paid Google account, you likely have a pro account like I do, right? You're probably going to want a pro account, but as I always say, play around with the free and see what limits you hit. And then you might be encouraged, especially after watching what I'm about to show you, to upgrade. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here and copy this list of URLs. You'll go create new notebook, and over here paste text. You'll click in here and you'll paste it in. It's going to paste in beautifully because of where you pasted it from, and then you're going to let it do its thing. And what I'm going to do is delete this notebook I just created and show you what I got when I did it originally here. And it named it for me, California Housing Market Outlook 2025. And the first thing it does is it provides you with this nice little summary. Okay, and then over here, just like ChatGPT might do, it gives me suggested prompts, right? And bottom line, based on all these sources, and I can click in here to, view the sources again, and I can click here to add more sources if I want. But bottom line, I've now got an AI tool that is focused specifically and only on those sources and the information it can pull from that. Okay, and so now we're going to play. We're going to get into this, and I'm going to show you some really cool things I did. So the first thing I do is click on the mind map option. Okay, and when I did that, it gave me this analysis here. So let's click in. And this is just a way where it will break it down into the major topics, right? And as I've already kind of referred to, this is what I'm focused on, is the forecast and prediction. So when I click on that, it goes to the sort of subtopics, and then it basically drops a prompt for me. Discuss what these sources say about forecast and prediction in the larger context of California Housing Market Outlook 2025, right? And so it gives me this nice little analysis. I could certainly copy this into a Notion note if it's something I want to discuss with a customer or member. You could share these notebooks also if you wanted to. What I would suggest to you is that you do this and play with it. The next thing I did, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but when you click into reports, you'll see you get a bunch of options. Okay, and so I chose blog post because, again, I'm going back to you as the accountant or bookkeeper providing advisory services for your customers and members, and assuming you're targeting the Southern California real estate investor market, then the best way, because the question that gets asked all the time is, how do I get in front of the right customers, the people who are going to actually hire me and pay me for my services? And the answer is by doing what I'm about to share with you here. You write content and you write content that is of value to that target audience. They will come and they will read your stuff and they'll say, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. Maybe I should reach out to them for help. It's clear they do accounting and bookkeeping. You don't even have to tell them that. They'll click over and get curious and see who you are once they see that you've provided them with a lot of value. You're almost better off not making it a point. Right? Don't hide it, but you don't have to make such a point about, oh, and by the way, we do this too as our bookkeeping service. Just do it. Just teach them. Just show them what you've put together. Okay. And then, of course, you'll want to rewrite this in your own words, but this is literally in a click. I have done nothing to this since, but in a click, it came up with this. Beyond the headlines, 4 surprising truths about California real estate in 2025. As of the time I'm recording this, we might want to update this to a 2026 outlook. Okay. And it gives you a really nice, I'm sure, very well written article. But like I said, you never want to take something that is generated 100% by AI and publish that. You should definitely, first of all, you confirm your own understanding of the material by rewriting it in your own words, right? And also, it is less likely to hurt you for SEO purposes. If Google can tell that what you've written is 100% AI generated, and trust me, they can tell, it can hurt you instead of helping you. But this is how you do it. You generate information like this. This is just one. I'm sure I could generate a ton, okay? The next thing I did that just absolutely blew me away, in fact, that's what made me say I have to go back and just do an article about this, is I clicked on video overview. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't expect much. I was kind of going into this expecting that I was going to likely be disappointed. I was anything but disappointed. This is the result I got. Notice you can share it. You can download it. I have downloaded it and included it as its own separate part of the write-up. Right, so if you want direct access to this, again, join my community. You can get access to the write-up. But I'm going to just play an excerpt because I just want you to experience how, I don't know, I think it's amazing. I'm sure some of you will disagree with me. There's always at least one.
If you're trying to buy, sell, or just, survive in California, you've got one massive question on your mind. What on earth is going to happen with housing prices? Well, today we're digging deep into the 2025 forecast for the Golden State. We're going to break down the key numbers, the powerful economic forces, and the new rules that are going to hit your wallet. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get right to it. Are we looking at another year of insane price surges? I mean, after the roller coaster we've all been on with interest rates and market whiplash, it's totally understandable to be a little anxious. So let's see what the data is actually telling us. Okay, so to get that answer, we've got to start with the big headline number. This comes straight from the California Association of Realtors, and it's their prediction for what a typical single-family home is going to cost in 2025. Just take a second and look at that number, $843,600. That's the forecast for the median home price.
I'll spare you the rest. You can watch it on your own. As you can see, it's a 7-minute video. And trust me, it just keeps getting better. I love the graphics. I love the visuals. I didn't have to do anything. It completely 100% generated this for me after one click on video overview. Okay. Because I had the video overview and I liked it, I didn't bother with the audio overview. But I'm guessing we would get something similar. And, you can use all these formats to share things in social media, right? And so the audio and the video stuff, you wouldn't obviously rewrite those. Share those, that's fine. Be transparent. Explain, hey, this is based on my research using AI tools to help me compile it faster. And bottom line is it's going to be of value to your potential audience. So this is how you get in front of the right audience, is by sharing information like this. And it's also how you serve your clients strategically, because going back to what I said lies at the foundation of all of this. If you have your forecasts and you are managing those forecasts with your customers and members, then this is how you're going to inform the assumptions you want to make when it comes to predicting, revenue and expenses in a case like this, forecasting their different real estate projects and so on. And then you can review it with your customer or member, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be blown away at your knowledge. They come to you expecting you to understand the accounting. They don't expect this, but this directly impacts the accounting, especially when you're talking advisory. I no longer care, or let's put it this way, it's no longer enough to just run a balance sheet and look at that balance sheet. That's a look at the past. We need to be able to look into the future with our customers. That is how we provide advisory services. This is how we get advisory, and this is how you do it, okay? So just a quick sort of recap of what I shared with you here. The first thing I do, first of all, I just suggest playing with all of these. I didn't play with flashcards. The quiz I clicked into just out of curiosity. It's a way of you being able to test your own knowledge of this. I think this was originally designed for students to use, but clearly it's growing. I found this, like I said, because I started stumbling on article after article about it, and it was clearly articles from a publication that is specifically focused on Android users, which I am. And once I played with it, as you can hopefully now see and agree and attest to, it's mind-blowing what this thing could do. So generate the mind map, play with that, right? Run some reports. I just did the blog post, but you should go back there and do the rest. Generate a video overview with your own. And as I said earlier, just swap out my Southern California real estate market analysis with whatever's appropriate for your unique audience, whoever you're targeting for your accounting or bookkeeping services. Now you'll find out as you start prompting that Notebook LM doesn't have the personality that ChatGPT and others have, but we're not going for personality here. We're going for utility, right? We're going for something that's really useful. And I can guarantee you that if you spend a few hours a month updating something like this tool and then reviewing the results with your clients and updating your forecasts with them based on this kind of information, I mean, imagine sharing that 7-minute video with your customer or member based on their specific business. It will blow them away. I think it's going to blow you away first, and you're going to feel compelled. You're going to have no choice at that point but to do this for your own customers and members. Heck, do it for your own accounting firm and see what kind of results you get. Could only be more interesting. And in case you're wondering about the forecasts themselves and how I do it, I want to say it's simple. It's not simple. It takes a little bit of work to put together a forecast the way I do it. Trust me when I tell you, I have played with just about every so-called forecasting tool out there, and none of them give you the kind of power and flexibility that this does, what I have for you right here on my screen. This isn't just a forecasting tool. It is a robust cash management or cash flow management tool. This is how you do advisory. I'll give you a super quick tour because this isn't really the subject, but since I referenced it, I wanted you to see it. We've got to dump the balance sheet in here. We've got to make sure it balances, especially when we get into the forecasted period. Of course, the profit and loss, everything syncs up, okay? And then the statement of cash flows needs its own balance check, always has to be in balance, otherwise it needs to be fixed. It can't be relied upon if there's a single difference on any given month. Once we have all this information, tied together and flowing and balanced properly, then we can start doing the analysis. Here's a quick dashboard that I call the car dashboard analysis because it shows me income versus cash, which to me, income is how fast I'm going, and the balance in the bank accounts or cash is how much fuel is in the tank, right? Over here, we've got a little valuation analysis, or the basic look at here's EBITDA, and then other income and expenses. Here's the full version of that, which now lets us look at, all right, if I was going to get an investor and I was going to give them 10% ownership, what's that valuation? And based on that information, when do they go green? When do they recoup their investment? When does their ROI get into the 100% plus realm, right? And then, of course, remember what I said, step 5, measuring and analyzing progress. That's what this one's all about. This is the variance analysis. This is where we compare what we forecasted to actual results of operations, and we have a discussion and we comment on anything with a variance of more than 5% either direction. And then we look at this month over month, and we do it all in the same tab, because this way we get additional insights as opposed to having them each month in a separate tab. It would be a lot harder to just visually cue ourselves and see here's what happened the last few months and which way the variances went. It helps us identify patterns a lot more easily when we put it all together. Okay, and then here are just examples of some schedules that we built that are kind of supporting schedules where the totals will flow back to the appropriate places on the P&L or the balance sheet, or in this case both, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the forecast. This is how you do advisory in a process like this one that I've just shown you here, is how you do it with incredible effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness is always more important than efficiency, but if we can accomplish both, then all the better. So, as always, if you have any questions or comments or concerns about how to do this or any part of it, please reach out to me. Post your comments in the comments section below if you're watching this on YouTube. Or as I've mentioned, check the description of this video for a link that will take you over to where you can join the community. And you'll find this video and the article with the complete write-up, including the prompt that you can copy and paste, all there in the community in what's called the blog-ish section of Circle. Once you're in, you can ask me and I will point you immediately in the right direction in case you have any trouble finding this or anything else for that matter at all. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. I do hope you'll take the time to try this. I think nothing will be as impactful as you actually going through the process yourself and trying it for yourself. And then, of course, like I said, come back to me and ask me any questions you have. And I would love to just get your feedback. If you had an experience with this and you were blown away, I definitely want to hear about that. And I certainly want to hear if you came up with any new or different ideas of your own based on this. Definitely would like to hear back from you on that stuff as well. So join the community. I hope to continue the conversation there, but you're welcome to comment on the video directly on YouTube as well. Either way, I look forward to seeing you, finding out what I can help you with. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you in the community.